Hello. First things first, let me just acknowledge how frickin' whack my setup is. I'm recording off my phone, like, as a professional does, but I've got this clear masking tape so I can mark where to put up my phone. My computer, some chapstick, a ripped up floss pick, a coffee in a 7-Eleven Slurpee cup, random mask, tape headphones, old shipping label, and water in a protein shaker cup. I am doing this very well, as you can see. Okay, the hair's tied up. The 7-Eleven Slurpee cup coffee is ready to go. Let's get into this. If you are looking to get rich off of flipping stuff out of a Goodwill, I am not your guy in this particular video, let me say. If you are looking to walk into a single Goodwill and walk out with thousands of dollars worth of t-shirts for your personal collection, I don't think anybody's your guy, to be honest. But if you are looking to understand the phenomenon that is wearing dirty, raggedy, old clothes out of a Goodwill and turning that into some sort of a style, that I'm your guy for. Because I'll be honest, knowing what to look for at a Goodwill is kind of hard. Like, I've been going in and out of thrift stores since probably 2012. I had no clue, like, what was valuable or what was, like, technically cool till probably a year and a half ago, give or take. And I say technically cool because there are like certain things that you like look for if you are ever trying to get into like selling the stuff. But a lot of times stuff that meets like the technical requirements of being cool, I skip on. But I mean, bro, screw a technical requirement. Hold up. Look at this that I pulled aside. Look at this freaking dog shirt. This meets zero of the technical requirements I'm about to go over. This is gonna be a freaking wall shirt. This thing's freaking dope. It may have come out like a couple of years ago. I don't care. I found it at Goodwill. It was $2. It's an awesome shirt. Screw technicalities. Because at the end of the day, you decide what's cool when you wear it. It's not about what like anybody else thinks or any kind of rules or anything like that. These are just the rules that are kind of commonly accepted and things that people tend to look for at Goodwills. But if you like something, grab it. But I suspect the reason you're watching this video is because you've seen vintage shirts going for crazy prices, and you kind of want to know what goes into, like, why is this shirt worth so much when they sell basically the same thing at H&M or Target or whatever. With that being said, here is kind of my personal, like, Jaden Sickfitsified rules for how to get into vintage. And when I say like get into vintage, I mean being able to identify pieces that are worth a little bit and things that just I personally look out for my own sense of style. The biggest thing is figuring out what is old and what is not. Again, these rules are super general because like there's shirts that came out in 1970 that are worth $10. But like my 2008 Joker shirt is probably worth 150. It's really all about getting a feel for it. These are just kind of like some starting points to look out for. And that was not me trying to be like, oh, I'm the cool like vintage guy with like shirts on his wall or whatever, because my wall's kind of empty right now and half of Instagram would blow my collection out of the water. That was just a quick example I had sitting over my head, and I happened to pay like $30 for that shirt anyway. It only recently went up. So all of this is information. None of this is just a weird, like, low-key vintage flex. But anyway, back to the topic of figuring out how old a shirt is. It sounds super simple, right? But, I mean, you go to a Goodwill and you find an AC/DC shirt, and you don't know if it started at Target or if it started at a concert in the 80s, because a Target t-shirt that you find at Goodwill is probably worth about $2. An AC/DC t-shirt that you find at a Goodwill from the 80s is probably worth a couple hundred. And to answer that question, there's a bit of nuance and some how-tos and things to look out for. That's kind of what I'm going to be going over with I'm going to angle it from the like mistakes I made and things that I personally look out for. So yeah, we're going to get into that. The first thing that I think that I made that I think almost everybody makes when they first get into going to Goodwill is the great tag mistake, as I would like to call it. This picture that I have above my head right now, I don't know how I'm going to edit this, is called a printed tag. If you see a printed tag, that shirt is not old. That shirt is probably worth about the $2 that you're going to snag it for at Goodwill. Well, okay, see my earlier part about the technicalities and the caveats and everything like that, because generally printed tags are worth $0. But like you see that black shirt above my head with the Scarlett Johansson? Yeah, that's got a printed tag on it. It's from 2008. It's probably an $80 to $100 shirt by now. Again, not a weird low-key vintage flex. Just another quick example I have above my head. But there's caveats in all of this. I'm going to say a good 99% of the time, if you see a printed tag, it's not worth anything. You can kind of like feel the material. If it feels like a really cheap like Target shirt, then pass. That one is on a high quality blank. So again, it's all about getting a feel for it. These are just general guidelines. Now, Can you grab a printed tag shirt that you like the design of and wear it yourself? Absolutely. Generally, these like printed tag shirts are like that stretchy, like think if you went into Target and picked up a t-shirt, like how stretchy it would be, and if you washed it one time, like it would warp and like shrink 10 sizes and everything like that. That's a lot of the reason these printed tag shirts aren't worth anything, because like the t-shirt that the design is printed on, super, super cheap. You may have heard me say on Snapchat, and this is what I'm going to be referencing throughout this video, but this is single stitch. It's the hem along either the sleeve or the bottom part of the t-shirt, and it is just one line of stitching. This is double stitch, where it's like two rows of stitching along the shirt sleeve and the bottom of the shirt. Gets tricky sometimes though, because sometimes you'll have like a printed tag shirt that they have newly made a single stitch shirt. That's not old, it's not worth anything. Maybe there's an exception to that rule, but if there is, I've never seen it. So general rule of thumb is if you find something that is single stitch with like an actual like tag on the shirt, like a shirt tag on it, then you're good to go. If it's double stitch with a tag on it, then there's still a chance that it's worth something, but there's so much that goes into determining that. That's a whole lot of like looking on eBay, Instagram, Depop, kind of getting a feel for like what's what. Before you get to that point where you know like what's valuable, what's not, whatever, I gotta emphasize, buy what you think is cool. Because if you're looking to get into selling, if you think something's cool, most likely somebody else thinks it's cool. And if you think it's cool, you're gonna wear it. So it's a win-win. Again, like I've been saying, there is so much that goes into like what is a good thing to pick up when you're shopping for vintage at thrift stores or whatever. Some general things to look out for that are just like not common, but like things that a lot of people look out for. There's anything made in USA, specifically Levi's or something that I find a good amount. Pendleton brand, like the older tags, Disney shirts, Harley shirts, vintage band shirts, and like movie promotion shirts are some common popular categories of vintage stuff. This may require a part 2 video. You can leave a comment below if you want to know a little bit more in depth, but basically I say Goodwills generally, but I'm just talking like thrift stores, secondhand stores in general is where I go. Goodwill outlets, I mean specifically Goodwill outlets, which I'll put a picture up if you don't know what those are. Basically, it's a bunch of bins. You go, you dig through the stuff, and they sell it to you by the pound, actually. I go to flea markets, which is just a bunch of people getting together to sell their old stuff. I go to antique stores, just as like mom and pop shops, people are selling stuff, and a lot of times there's like a t-shirt or a clothing section. I also do a lot of buying on eBay, Depop, apps like that, and then I buy through a lot of Instagram pages. Not to mention actual like vintage stores, which oftentimes also sell vintage and sneakers. So if you're getting into this through sneakers, a lot of sneaker stores have a vintage section now. And I'm just gonna talk about this real quick, but like sneakers, there is fake vintage. And vintage like bootlegs are super popular, like the Warren Lotus, like the Fugazi, like of the shoe world. That in vintage is and kind of always has been super popular. I'm talking about fake though. I'm talking about like a shirt from 1990 or whatever that someone has done the design on and kind of passes it off, except it's put on like a new shirt, like they just made it. What I'll say about avoiding that is 1, buy from reputable sellers, and 2, if the price is too good to be true, stay away from it if you're going after the real thing. Make sure the tag lines up with the tag from the authentic one. Make sure like the print looks right and everything like that. If it looks too fresh or anything, that might be a little suspicious. But if you are cool with rocking like a new shirt with the old design on it, a lot of people will say like you shouldn't do that, whatever. But I mean, me telling you not to buy something like that is not going to stop the fake vintage market. So as I've been saying without this video, I think you should wear what you think is cool, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with that. Let me just finish off the video by saying I am not the dude when it comes to vintage. There are so many people that I've learned so much from. I've got a list of them I'll put off to the side in one direction or another. And I follow so many. If you check Sick Fits, you look at who I'm following. I learn something new about this every single day. I'm always trying to improve my game, figure out like what to look for, stuff that I like, all that kind of stuff. I'd appreciate it if you like and subscribe and leave a comment if there's anything you want me to go a little more in depth about. But otherwise, that's it, I think, for now, unless yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks, guys.